It's going to be more cloudy and a high of 14 degrees centigrade today, and Monday cloudy and occasional rain again. This is Charlie Gillett here with Undercurrents on Capital Radio, and I'm on my own playing a record by Faction.
Hello everyone, thanks for waiting for the panel. I hope you enjoyed the film. I'm not going to introduce everyone, I'm going to get them to introduce themselves. So can we start at the end there, Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Sattler, one of the filmmakers.
Yeah.
I'm Charlie Gillett. I'm an innocent party in all this, but one thing I didn't do before the film started was to make it really clear that the Papers, of which my neighbour here is the lead singer, will be playing tonight down at Coalition.
Yeah. Hi, I'm John, and as Charlie said, I'm the singer in the Papers. I look a little bit different to how I did in the film, but not much.
No, look at my
You hardly notice.
I'm Desmond, and I'm the other filmmaker.
And I'm Jeff Martin. I've looked after the Left Field stage at Glastonbury for the last 7 years, and I work with Billy Bragg on the Jail Guitar Doors project.
I'm Lisa Holloway, by the way, presenter of The Space. I ran Brighton Music Network for 4 years, which is a business-to-business network for the music industry, and I'm the chair of Creative Brighton, which is a creative industries leadership group at Brighton and Hove City Council. Enough about me. Let's go back to the film. What was the reason, the motivation behind doing this film in the first place?
I guess I'll start. Desmond and I worked as news photographers at a television station in the United States. And aside from just being news photographers, Desmond actually made a short film about the New England Fiddle Contest, which was a music festival that was seen around the Hartford area. I was impressed by that film, and I was making videos for television, music videos, and I went up to Des one day and approached him and said, hey, how about going to England and see if we can get some of the grassroots thing and do something similar?
And that's all he said. I didn't ask any questions, I just said okay.
So in the 70s, when the punk thing happened here, 76, 77, in mainstream America, it didn't exist really. You would have known about it in New York, East of the Village, but overall it didn't make any impact. And neither did the, to me, much more interesting musically, the ska two-tone movement of the Specials and the Beat and all those people. So to me that was the best period of British pop music ever. But it didn't mean anything in America either.
Charlie, tell us a bit more about ska and two-tone as well.
Well, two-tone being
very important in terms of the politics.
That's 77, 78, 79. So punk was just like, you know, as everybody's talked about, it's like do it yourself, just pick a guitar up and hit it as hard as you can and shout. And for somebody like myself who valued singing, punk was like against everything that I personally related to. But then when the two-tone, which was bringing the music of Jamaica into the picture, and it was like music of Jamaica from a little period earlier, that had been called ska, and they literally recycled some of the songs from that time or rhythms, and were very, very popular. Specials had number ones and all that kind of thing. And the Clash were kind of almost in between the two areas. They were both political, but also they had some reggae and ska influence with them too. And that was the great pinnacle of British pop. And then, for reasons we'll never quite know, that died down, and then we get to this year of 1981. And what was so interesting for me to see it as a starting point was to see that it's the do-it-yourself element. Some people actually talk in the film, excuse me, about when you're in a studio, you're just working to get it right. You know, in other words, somebody was talking about paying his dues in terms of just working and working and just. And you even saw the little scene with the group 1, 2, 3 where they were performing to a pre-recorded backing track. Just the intensity and the concentration of everybody to get that right. So that was, in Britain, the beginning of that kind of period movement of music. And it's harder to do some of that music live, funny enough, and therefore you did a great job to go and find studios. That was one of the unique things about this film. You're seeing what's on stage and you're seeing behind the scenes. And you very rarely see that anywhere, actually.
What about the music industry itself? Tell us about the climate there in 1981. You talked about the majors versus the indies, and that there was a little bit of space for indies to set up for a while, Charlie, in the film.
Well, I'm just trying to remember, because in 76 Stiff Records had started, and they kind of gave a template, a model for a group of guys running a label, picking up artists, Ian Dury, Reckless Eric, Jonah Louis, people that the industry would have thrown out and not been interested in, and made it into a very successful concern. Madness was the big artist on Stiff. So they showed it could be done. They were regularly in the top 10. But most of the groups that we've seen in the film were not with a label even as big as Stiff. They were often literally putting it out themselves through Rough Trade, which you briefly did see. And Rough Trade, you cannot, what's the expression? It is very, very important. Rough Trade, if you made a record, you could take it to Rough Trade, they'd listen to it, they'd say, okay, we'll take 500, 1,000, whatever it is, and distribute it around the country. And to be able to do that, to have that direct route to the people, as it were, was fantastic. And speaking of the people, again, a lot of the characters in here were living in squats. And I happened to be in an area in Clapham, in South London, which had quite a lot of squats in the immediate neighbourhood. The Thompson twins came and knocked on my door one day, and it turned out they lived a couple of streets away. And the group Can and Changing Hearts, all of them were very local to me, all of them living in squats. And you'd see them wandering around, you know, looking very much as you see, they don't change when they go on stage, they just look weird, you know, as weird as they were. What about the Papers? Were you living in squats or not?
Yeah, I was living in Crystal Palace. There was a kind of squat community.
It was a palace though.
Huh?
It's a palace though.
And there was about 30 of us, I suppose. We took over some derelict houses. The good thing about that is I learned how to be an electrician because I rewired them. So I learned that stuff.
That's interesting you should say that, because I'm just walking past, there is still one of those squats survives in Clapham to this day, and I'm just walking past and there's a guy who used to be a musician, and well, there's two of them. One of them was in Thunderclap Newman. Do you all remember Thunderclap Newman? Something in the Air? He's still there, he's an electrician.
One of the bands, if you look closely, one of the bands, Almost Human, they're singing in a dilapidated old house that was abandoned. There's no windows and there's a mattress leaning against behind them, where the singer was, if you caught that in the film.
A music squad.
Yeah.
A music squad, yeah. So that doesn't exist anymore as a phenomenon at all. You don't have the same. There's a lot of people in their own room making music on computers and whatnot. But the trouble with a live band is it made a lot of noise, and you had to do all that padding. Going into those places, to me, it used to feel like I was going to a coal mine. There's no natural light whatever, and you don't know where you are. You're cut off from the real world, as it were. The bloody musicians going bang, bang.
No, there's one other thing about what you were saying. I lived here when Enoch was doing his stuff, and one thing that really struck me, because I saw all that going on here, I saw the confusion and the anger and the fear and all the rest of it, was the fashions, which was another whole layer of what was going on. And the New Romantics thing and the makeup and all the rest of it.
The check baggies and the frilly shirts, I remember them well.
Because there were still the punkies, but a parallel world was happening on the streets, but it was really serious stuff. It was those were expensive costumes. So that made it even more confusing, because I know that people were very concerned about the social, political and economic climate, to quote somebody in the film. And at the same time, we were trying to figure out what was this frilly shirt business about there. We actually bumped into Duran Duran doing a photo shoot, and that was quite amazing. We said nobody in the States would understand what the hell is going on here.
The New Romantics.
Yeah, they just wouldn't get it. And they wouldn't get Can. They wouldn't even be allowed to play.